This is Jody Shirami at astropod_cast. Welcome to this weekly astrology report. This is for the week of July 4th. Happy July 4th to America. Till July 11th, which will be next Friday. So I hope everyone's doing well this week. Welcome to this weekly astrology report. So let's start with July 4th. What is happening today? Today, the fast movement of Venus. And then early on, before Venus moves into Gemini, it's going to meet up with Uranus at the very, very last degrees of Taurus at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is about 2 hours ago from now. Well, 3 hours ago from now. And as I started this podcast, thunder has moved in and lightning. Although the sky is blue, it is completely making noise up there like someone's in the kitchen tossing their pots and pans around. And it is during Cancer season when we would be in the kitchen a lot of times cooking, right? So it kind of all fits into that. What does it mean when Venus conjuncts Uranus? The things we want, the things we desire are going to be changing quickly. They're going to be up for grabs. Our minds can change quickly today on what it is we like and don't like. So it doesn't last too long. Then Venus moves in Gemini, and here we're going to have our delectable choices. Again, Gemini is a sign of twins. Same coin, but two different sides. Good, bad. Gemini is the duality. So as it meets up with Uranus, it's also going to be facing these dualities because Uranus is also heading into Gemini following Venus shortly. So as those wild desires of Venus meeting up with Uranus at the last degrees of Taurus, because again, Taurus is about desires and practical things that we want and love, and sometimes we need, but do we really need it? Probably not. The Scorpio moon is also here, adding to this passionate, deep, dark things that we might be thinking about as Venus moves into Gemini, because again, we're talking about the duality of twins. So as Venus moves in here, Venus could be desiring things that are very passionate and maybe not always up to the conservative standards of what love is. Because again, Gemini is about the twins. So the Scorpio moon comes in here and is now squaring Pluto in Aquarius through Saturday. And then on Saturday, it's going to trine the sun in Cancer. Trines are very simple energies between two planets that are easy to manifest. So with this easygoing moon, Scorpio moon, that likes to dig deeply into all these things that Venus could be up to, with Scorpio moon squaring Pluto, we're going to have this energy, this need to get it out. Whatever it is in that box wants to come out and show itself. So again, into tonight, which is July 4th celebrations, into Saturday when there could be more July 4th type of celebrations, we're going to really be needing to watch ourselves as all kinds of energy enters that may not be what you want to do. So only you can know what you should be up to tonight and into this weekend. Because again, all the outer planets are preparing to move into their sign. And then Neptune is also preparing to retrograde today. Neptune stations retrograde at 2 degrees of Aries, while Saturn is about 18 minutes away near the conjunction of Neptune. So again, Saturn and Neptune are traveling together. They're very close to their perfected conjunction. But right now they're 18 minutes away out of 60 minutes when we will finally get to see this trailer of the future that we've already been seeing and sensing, because they're so close, again, like we spoke about last week, that they're so close that we're already beginning to see and feel this energy. And how are we going to deal with this energy is what's up for review as Uranus shifts into Gemini on the 7th. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we head into the week. And then on the 5th, which is Saturday, again, we're watching out for this Scorpio moon trining the sun in Cancer tomorrow, as Scorpio moon is squaring Pluto before it moves into this trine with the sun. So we're looking for something here again. Is that energy? Is that square? It's a lot of energy that we must release. So how are we going to release that? Hopefully we release it today by going out, hanging around, watching fireworks. Maybe some of you watched fireworks last night. Maybe tonight you're going to watch fireworks. But whatever it is, take it easy and be calm, because the energy of the universe is such that we are really in this time of where we must think before we act. The fifth really doesn't have a lot going on besides Mars, who's in Virgo, is opposing his sister Aries, having kind of a meeting that because Aries is again the woman that did not get invited to the wedding. She was quite upset. So here we're thinking about outsiders and how they don't fit in with us, or if they do fit in, or we're the outsider, we don't fit in. So we're all having a little bit of this feeling where we don't fit in. And then Venus is going to begin its trine to Pluto. And again, Venus has just moved in Gemini on the 4th, and now on the 5th it begins its trine, because it's at 0 to 2 degrees of the beginning sign of Gemini, and Pluto is at the 2 degrees of Aquarius as it's retrograde, and it's going to move all the way back to 0 before it moves forward again, and that's in 2026. So right now with Venus beginning its trine to Pluto, Pluto is helping Venus to clarify. As she shifts in Gemini, she has a lot of choices, and it's an air sign, so a lot of the thoughts and desires are going to be in our brain, and what it is we're thinking about, and a lot of times Gemini does things without acting. So Pluto's coming in here and saying, hey, I'm also supporting you. I'm a fixed air sign, and I know what you're thinking about. I know what your desires are, and I think it has to do with digital world. It has to do with computers. It has to do with all this new age stuff coming in. So let's work on this. Let's work on it, First, you have to want it, desire it, and think about how you're going to manifest into being. And Pluto's saying, well, hey, Neptune and Saturn are in Aries, the beginning degrees of also 0 to 2 degrees. They're going to help us with all this. And so that sets up a nice triangle of them all being together and working together, which begins now. And that's really why we're getting to see the taste of the future, because these planets, these outer planets, are all coming together and having a meeting. And Jupiter's already in Cancer at about 2 or 3 degrees. So Jupiter's already chugging along, getting our domesticity in order, so that what it is we want in our homes, with our families, will concur, hopefully, with what we desire with Venus in Gemini, and hopefully with Pluto in Aquarius, changing the fabric of what we know, what we think we want, what we desire. Because again, Pluto rules over Scorpio, and the Scorpio moon is here until tomorrow on the 6th. So all this in combination, the 5th, the day after, which is tomorrow, is setting up for all these things to be occurring that has been forecasted by 2 women who are kind of the Nostradamus of Asia. They've both been right about the tsunami that hit Thailand. They both predicted certain things that had to do with the earth correctly, but they did not predict things that had to do with humans and their desires and who they'd be voting for, what type of government they want. It's always nicer to manifest a peaceful prophecy in terms of human interactions, right? So that what we think, what we are harnessing the power, what we're believing is that we believe in goodness and peace and nature, and that we will live on earth and abide by earth's rules, and also prepare and take care of the earth so that we can all live on here and share this same experience. The vibes from the sun and the planets all moving together collectively becomes a synchronized dance of unknown shock waves, electrical shock waves that come in and change the DNA and our body chemistry to where, as Pam Gregory is saying, we're becoming light beings. We're becoming made of crystals instead of what charcoal is made of, carbon-based beings. So as we shift into a new type of being, it's going to take time. It's going to take thousands of years for us to shift into a new being, as we can see from thousands of years of where we've come from. a lot of the old caveman mentality, warlike mentality of the Aries era, and then the power over others in Neptune time, when you could be easily fooled and be overtaken because you're peace loving and you're not willing to fight against these people. And so those times are ending, to where the collective people are going to start to wake up and realize that you have more power than you know, and all this old stories we've known or heard of from Greek times, from Roman times, from the age of the War of the Roses, all these things have all been stories that were told to make our brains weaker, so we can't rebel and we don't have the intelligence behind our brain and what our brain thinks to actually act. Because a lot of times it takes emotional desire and mental clarity and wisdom from learning from people, from elders, from books, from history, and then going out to the world and enacting some of these changes. And how is it received in the world? And how are you here as a vessel of information and change? Because we're all here on Earth for a reason at this time. We're either here to live this time over again, so maybe we can stop a nuclear bomb from falling like it did in World War II. Maybe we're here because of other reasons that aren't good, and now it's starting to come out why we're really here on Earth. It's not to really bond us all together, but to take over and become warlords of the past that feel like they didn't get their fair share, and so their karma is, so let's go back and try it again. So then on Sunday, July 6th, the Sagittarius moon moves in and immediately opposes Uranus and Venus. Because again, the Sagittarius moon is opposing Gemini, which is its balancing sign. And so as it moves into Uranus, as it moves into there, the moon shifting from Scorpio into Sagittarius, it's going to meet up at the varying degrees of Scorpio and oppose Uranus before it shifts into Gemini, and opposes before the moon finishes, it shifts into Sagittarius and opposes Venus that just entered into Gemini. So this is going to be happening a lot. A lot of these oppositions, all these things are happening because every time a planet moves somewhere now, it's going to have a new set of, it's going to have a new situation with these other planets that are now in their new signs, like Uranus getting ready to shift. So every time a planet, as you know, starts to shift out of 28 degrees to 2 degrees, that little section area, it's a big deal, because again, these are the beginning points of that sign. So the power there begins right then. So with Gemini here, if you spread into 3 decans, the first decan of Gemini is going to be Gemini. The first air sign is Gemini. Then it goes into 10 more degrees, there'll be Gemini and Libra. And that's where you go from the mutable Gemini to Gemini Libra, which is a cardinal air sign. And then 10 degrees later, it'll be in Gemini Aquarius, the very last degrees of Gemini. So the reason that it's so powerful with Uranus moving to Gemini here tomorrow on the 7th is because it's time of the air, Pluto being in Aquarius. But let's finish up today on Sunday. So Venus is also going to sextile Neptune and then Saturn. And this again with Venus and our love, our desires, our needs, what it is we want. Mars is really about what we do to get what we want and our desires. But Venus spurs that on by saying, I love that house. So now you're going to use your Mars energy to buy that house. Or I really want that champagne, so I'm going to use my Mars energy to make enough money to get that champagne. So that's how Venus and Mars are very together in terms of what personally we desire and how we will use that energy to get what we desire. So we want, then we desire, and then we need, and then we manifest it through work because we need food. So we have to go out and earn money to make food. So these are how just these little things work. And all these planets have been named and used as symbols for the Greeks and the Roman times. But before then, there was the Egyptians and the Sumerians and the Chinese, the Mongols of Mongolia, who also have their own interpretation of all these planets. Like the Hindus have their own interpretations of their own many gods. So there's a lot of history that weaves in and out of our collective ancestry. But if you really study it all and look at it, it's all very comparable, all almost the exact same stories, the exact same times, the exact same thing that makes a person good or bad. All these stories are exactly the same, just told by various cultures across the globe, as some will travel and then pass that story on, hear another story and pass that story on, and then collectively it becomes the history of the human being and how it has come on earth and what it is capable of doing. And again, we're talking a lot about the age of Atlantis, which is before the age of the Egyptians. So are we doomed to be the age of this, and then someone will find us thousands of years later and really be interested in our technology? And our technology isn't really compatible or even ahead of the Egyptians with the pyramids. We're not ahead of the Atlantis people yet. So we have still a little bit longer to go to be as advanced as those former civilizations were from the things we've collected through history and seen. Oh, now we're on to 7/7, July 7th. This is the day Uranus enters into Gemini at 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time. Woo! So now all the planets, the outer planets, are in their sign that they will be in for a decade or more, besides Jupiter, who moves around every year. So this is like a kind of like a breath of, whoo, we made it here. Now what? Right? So that's where we're at, is that we've been talking about it so much. So what does it mean for the collective? What does this mean? It means what we've been talking about is that the speed of our time is going to speed up so quickly, just like this year has gone by and it's already July 4th. And when I look back at my podcast for this year so far, and I look back and I go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I've done all this already in this 2025. And it still feels like it's almost just February or March happening, right? And that's what the quality of time is like. And I remember it being like this when I was a young child in the 70s. And a lot of these planetary placements were there also in the 60s and 70s, when they said, well, here comes the age of Aquarius at the time, but it wasn't quite there yet, because the age of Aquarius is going to take a couple hundred years before we even get into there, right? And then it's going to last for 2,000 years. So we're just at the very beginning, like little ants on the ground walking, and we're not going far. We're just at our anthill still. We're doing a lot of work at that anthill, but we're still at that anthill. And ants are very powerful. They need to do something. They come together as a group and do it. And humans are known to do this also. When shove comes to push, we all get it together and we're like, okay, we're not letting that happen to other human beings. We're not letting this happen again. Right? And right now we're at the point where we've had so much peace for so many years that a lot of people are afraid to step up and say anything, and and they're just worried about their own, especially with Jupiter and Cancer right now. Like the big beautiful bill that passed is really great for seniors. They're not going to get taxed as much on their Social Security and all these things, so it's really great for seniors, but for children, they're taking away funding for schools. They're taking away funding for children that have learning disabilities, children that can't get to school because their parents work, children that need food because their parents don't have enough food or time to cook for them at home. So, and then on the flip side, they're also offering you money to have kids and incentives to have kids because there's not enough workforce to take care of the elderly that's going to do very well with their Social Security now. So it seems that the elderly people aren't caring for their grandchildren's age groups anymore because, as I've seen, is that a lot of people have lost touch with their families in the past 2 or 3 decades here with Pluto going through Capricorn and really dissolving a lot of that family nucleus to where a lot of people don't speak to their outer family much, their grandparents, their brothers or sisters, their cousins. Because again, if you don't teach the person how to fish, they'll always come back to you asking for more fish. And I know that to be true. So as soon as Uranus enters Gemini at 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time, things start to really rock and roll. Mars from Virgo will be squaring Chiron. And again, Mars's energy and this energy towards the self-healer is such that we really want to heal ourselves. So because these deep wounds that are in the unconscious helping us, causing us to do things sometimes that are unconscious that we can't let go of in our memory is really going to get stirred. And so on the 7th, it's going to be a rocky day in terms of emotionally. The collective and personally could be grumpy. And that would be on a Monday, which happens a lot anyways on Mondays, right? And then Venus, who's now in Gemini, is going to trine Pluto, which we were talking about for a couple of days later. And again, this is that deep, deep need and want to have our life have meaning. What is it that we're here for? Like the Barbie doll song said, what am I made for? Right? Barbie was asking, what am I made for? And that movie was really, all movies are ahead of their time. They're always kind of telling these stories of the collective that we can see happens. Not everyone's going to go watch that movie and understand it to really start to see that we are on the same side. And if you let people come in between you, then this is handing over your power to other people. Is a lot to think about. And so we have specific things where we can help people. But again, it's not easy to help people. They have to want to be helped. They have to want to change. And that is where we're at. And we can see that happening. Because now we're at a choice point, right? And so Venus is trining Pluto. And again, we want a deeper meaning of why we exist. So with this happening, we can make those bold steps. We can dare ourselves to go for what we really want, what we think we need. Not what we deserve, but what it is we want that would make us feel like, oh, okay, this helps me feel better. Like some lotion on my skin makes my skin look prettier, and then all of a sudden I feel healthier, I feel happier. Put a little bit of makeup on, all of a sudden I feel happy. Am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me? And that's what Venus wants to know. Is it for you or is it for me? And I'm going to say that one song said, girls dress up for each other. And that's what I think is true, is that, I think it was John Mellencamp sang that song. Pink Houses, I think that's what it is. But what are we dressing up for? I dress up for myself. If I want to look happy in the mirror, I'll just put on some makeup that day and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I feel good. If I want to feel like young again, I'll put my hair in a ponytail. So these are just things you can do for yourself, especially as you get older. Because this week I had an epiphany that I was getting older. And I was like, oh my God, did you forget you're getting older? And sometimes you don't think about it. And then something happens where, oh my God, I'm getting older. And then it just hits you. And for a second, I got depressed. It was kind of a hard day for me. And then I got through it by saying, hey, you've earned your wrinkles. You've earned your belly. You've earned it by doing what you've done for the past 57 years of your life to become a better person. And to be a better person, having kids helped me see how to be a better person. It really, really helps. And helps you understand the struggles that your parents went through to take care of you. And you start to see it a little bit better. And as long as you can look at yourself and say, I did the best I could, I was the nicest I could be, but I'm not a doormat, then I think you can be happy. But if you feel like you need to go outside of yourself and yell at other people, then you know that you're having a hard day that day. And that's the day to go sit down and meditate and be by yourself and do what it takes to come out of that fog. And only you can take yourself out of that fog. And believe me, it's going to happen a lot. And it's happening for me. I realize it's happening to me a lot more than it used to. Maybe once a month I might get that way. But now I can see it's happening almost once a week, because the powers, even after looking at astrology and reading and knowing what's coming, it still would just hit you at that moment. You realize, oh, I just lost my mind. I didn't sit and think for a minute and breathe and take a breath before I said another word. So basically, just use this time to take little steps towards your goal. And that's all you can do, is just take little steps towards those goals, okay? And then on the 8th of July, Sagittarius moon opposes Uranus for Rio. Again, our emotional roller coaster begins here with the Sagittarius moon, which wants to explore and see everything. And Gemini also is a mental sign that wants to go and learn all kinds of things. And so when this is happening, it's kind of saying, well, you have to learn what it is you want to explore before you head out. You have to set your plans, your itinerary, before you want to set out, Sagittarius moon. And Uranus is saying, hey, you got a lot of options here. Maybe too many options. Maybe you might miss something, so you got to really take your time. So that's what's happening on the 8th. And then Mercury is going to kind of have a little meeting that's pretty easy with Mars, but it's too easy, so that's irritating almost, because it will annoy. Rick Levine says it's a semi-sextile. So Rick Levine says this is kind of like where there's too many words, because of Mercury in Leo is having a little meeting with Mars in Virgo. And there's a little bit of an ego talking here with Mercury in Leo. And then with Mars, who's in Virgo, doesn't have the patience here because it's can't do what it really wants to do, can't act on everything it wants to act on. So right here, you're going to be a little bit fighting with yourself in terms of, oh, do I really need to do that? Yes, you need to do that before you prepare for something. So that's where we're at with that. And then Jupiter in Cancer is going to make it difficult with this thing happening with Mercury and Mars, because Jupiter is also going to ping over and say something to Mercury and Mars. And this is going to make it difficult another way, because Jupiter in Cancer is about giving and abundance, which is what Cancer loves to do, right? Give, give, give. But can also be very emotional in Cancer. A lot of crying, a lot of emotion, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of drama. So your thoughts are going to be saying one thing, your actions are going to be like, well, I can't do that now. Then Jupiter's saying, of course you can. So then you're going to be like, oh, this is so annoying. I know I can do it, but I can't get it done. I don't know why. So you're going to feel stuck. You're going to get annoyed. So really take it easy on the 8th in terms of, it's just not the time to do all these things. Because again, Neptune just went to sleep, started retrograding on the 4th of July, which is today when I'm filming this. And Saturn and Neptune are very closely conjunct, and Saturn prepares to take its nap on the 17th, I believe. So, or the 14th. So we're getting a lot of energy with Mars and Virgo, but again, Virgo and Mars, they're not completely compatible with each other. So Mars is a little bit like, oh, I want to die. But, you know, you can't go yet, you know. Electricity's out. You can't go. You got to wait. You can't see anything. You can't do anything. So that's why it's a frustrating time, and that's why July is so explosive, so volatile. It's because we have all this energy, but we can't do anything with it. Then we want to say things, we really can't say it because Pluto's telling us, hey, gotta calm down. You can't say it. You gotta think long term. And Mars, and then Uranus is like, oh, let's go, I'm ready, let's go surprise some people. But the moon also is like saying, no, you can't do that yet. You haven't gotten all your ducks in a row. You don't know how far it is. You haven't even looked at your itinerary. See how much gas you need. See how long it's going to take you to drive and get there. So that's where we're at. And that, I think, is what happened to me last week, where I had so many things in my mind opposing what I wanted to, what I wanted to say. It was like, oh, I had to get a bunch of things done last 2 days, 3 days, and it all just started compounding on me to where I was like, oh, I can't seem to get anything done. So that's how you guys are probably feeling this week. And I watched Sinners this morning on HBO, and I've been wanting to watch Sinners. It's kind of an idea I have also for a screenplay. I think a lot of times artists that are creating things out of the ether, ideas come into your brain, you'll see a picture of what it is you want, and then it'll just slip away as quickly, then it'll come back again, and then you kind of feel like you're haunted by spirits or the words of spirits, so where, you know, if you don't get it out, it's going to keep coming into your brain for years and years and years, which is what's happened to me, years and years. And I've written a couple of them down, and now I'm trying to just get through the process, have an ending that I like, put it that way. And I know sometimes some people can write movies quickly, some people take a long time, but I would say that all artists that create out of the ether have had ideas for a long time since they were children. And now we're on to July 9th, and the Capricorn moon moves in, and it's going to square Saturn, then Neptune, and then it's going to go opposite of Jupiter, because Jupiter, again, is at the degrees of Cancer, and it opposes Capricorn. Capricorn moon, again, is a sobering moon, is a moon that is a doer, a planner, and needs to see results to feel valuable and help you get sober and see what it is that you may be delusional about that you shouldn't be delusional about it. Again, it's going to square Saturn, which is its own ruler, because Saturn rules over Capricorn, but right now Saturn's in Aries, so Mars is actually ruling over Capricorn. So the Capricorn moon is really being ruled by Mars, so it's going to have a lot of energy to go. It's going to be this way for a while. The same with Neptune. Pisces moon people, they're going to be ruled by Aries because both of their signs are in Aries. So they're going to want to be starting something new, and it's going to be legacy building, because Capricorn is legacy and Aries is about doing. But again, Aries is about the baby. So the Capricorn moon here is going to be childlike in terms of it wants what it wants, also emotionally. Same with Neptune. And then Saturn, Neptune is going to sextile Pluto and Uranus and Venus. Wow. Okay, so we have basically another finger of God aspect, again, which we were talking about last week. And every time this occurs, we're going to be dealing with a lot of delusion because, again, Neptune. And we're going to be dealing with confusing information because of Uranus in Gemini. And also with Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to be dealing with the collective changing of the old guard and letting the new guard in. So every time this occurs, which will be occurring for the next 2 decades, we are always going to be needing to check ourselves and make sure we're not in a cult where we're not thinking for ourselves, where we don't have our own sovereignty, where we're not thinking about how will this help me and then help others, or how does this help others and how does it affect me? Because you have to always be thinking about yourself, otherwise you're in a cult. The individual is how you remain in your sovereignty. And sovereignty means, again, standing in your truth, your integrity. Okay? What is your truth? What is your integrity? Do you believe in cheating and lying and stealing? Is that your truth? Or are you like Robin Hood, where you understand sometimes you have to steal from the rich to give to the poor? Are you willing to break the law to do these things? So these are some of the things that are always going to be occurring as these transits happen. You have to look at yourself and say, well, do I agree with letting children starve in other countries because, their mom and dad don't care. They can't get them any food anyways. Why do we have to get them food? Right? So that's something that's on a big scale collectively. How do we feel about other people on earth, and how do we feel about taking care of them? Is it our responsibility or not? And then we're going to go look at the mundane. How is the government running? Is the government really for us, or is it for only rich people? Are they only protecting the rich and their businesses? That's the mundane world, right? So we've gone from the big outer world about caring for other people who may be starving. Then we're talking about our mundane world having to do with the government. And is the government serving us or serving only the rich people who, need help protecting their stores and their valuables, right? And then we go and look at ourselves personally. Am I living up to what I think is correct, or am I busy dissecting other people's lives and saying how they suck, how they don't know how to take care of their kids, how they don't know how to take care of their yards, they don't know how to take care of their bodies? Or am I taking care of myself and being the best I can be, eating the right food, sleeping correctly, taking care of my family, taking care of our life the way it should be? Am I doing the right thing? Am I adding my little small amount that I do every day? Is that helping the world collectively to be better and other human beings to see how to be a better person? So that's how do you become a better person? It starts with loving yourself and forgiving yourself for everything you may have thought was bad to do. But if you're not a human on earth trying to figure out the way to go, then you're not really here talking about these things with me or anyone else, because you're not a human. You're something else, right? So then Capricorn moon moves into a full moon at 4:36 p.m., where it is opposite of the sun in Cancer. So now the full moon means that 6 months ago there was a Capricorn new moon, so it would have been in January, I believe, the end of January. So from then to now, the moon is full in Capricorn. So when the moon gets full, it means something you've been working on for 6 months is coming to fruition. And it's really helpful for all the Capricorn moons when this happens. But also Capricorn sun and Capricorn rising also benefits from this. But Capricorn moon people will benefit from it the most. Or maybe you wanted to travel somewhere and now you get to travel there. Or maybe you want to move to someplace different and now your orders come through, or you get the go ahead to move. So there's a lot of things with Capricorn, because again, it's a cardinal earth sign. So the cardinal moon here is wanting you to do something that shows the world that you worked hard to get here. Because Capricorn wants its acknowledgement and all of its rewards and awards, but it's not going to be out in front of your face asking for it. Someone they love will have to say, hey, look at what my Capricorn did, which is what I do for my Capricorn sun, who's a boy, and then my Capricorn rising, who's also a boy. I shout out their awards for them, because they're a little bit, don't want to have too much ego, because their opposite side is Cancer, and Cancer is about nurturing the family. So a lot of Capricorns are very loyal and family-based people, and they love their moms and their dads, and they want to be with their mom and dad all the time. So that's kind of a nice part of Capricorns, I gotta say. And then Venus is going to have their little semi-sextile, which is Venus in Gemini, to Jupiter in Cancer. And again, we're going to have too much, especially after this Capricorn moon. Who doesn't like all the frills and all the nonsense? this little interaction between Venus and Jupiter is going to be kind of irritating for the Capricorn moon in terms of overdoing it, unless they're in the mood to celebrate, which they could be. They don't really want too much of what you need, what you want right now. You have to be practical about what you want and need, and you kind of want to have only, maybe one thing, not 10 things. One present, not 10 presents. If that makes sense. That's how I'm reading it, anyways. And then next Friday, Aquarius moon moves in. Oh, what's that Aquarius moon going to do? It's going to meet up with Pluto in Aquarius. Oh, this Aquarius moon enters at 1 a.m. And then it's going to have a nice little trine with Uranus in Gemini. By 3 p.m. Eastern Time, it's going to conjunct Pluto. This is a big time configuration because it's also going to have its little meeting again because Pluto is in that trine with Saturn and Neptune for a long time, right? And now Uranus is in here also having this triangle with them. Now the Aquarius moon's coming in and meeting up with Pluto. Now the moon is involved in its grand trine with Uranus, and then Saturn, Neptune, and then Pluto. So with the moon coming in on this triangle that's going to be in play all year and into next year, into the next year, for about 2 years, because Saturn will be moving out of this little area pretty soon. As it heads further into Aries, it's going to leave its conjunction with Neptune. But that doesn't happen until 2026, 2027. So basically from now until 2027, there's going to be this triangle in play with Pluto and Uranus and Saturn and Neptune. So those are the 4 most outer planets that have generational implications and also generational changes, generational values, which is Venus coming in here, right? And generational actions and how we spend our energy, which is Mars. So we're getting a little preview here by saying, hey, Mars in Virgo, we really should be worrying about our health and how we eat, how we take care of our children and our food. And then Venus and Uranus right now is saying, hey, we really like our technology. We love our phones. We love our TVs. We love all these things. But we need to really take a look and see how far do we let them have power, the powers that be that run the tech industry. Should we really be idolizing them? What have they actually done besides invent some fast computing and some beautiful ways to make pictures prettier and be able to speak to each other underwater and speak to each other in space? So should we really be idolizing these people because of what they invented? So that's where we're at with that. And then again, Pluto Aquarius is saying to the masses of people that are Aquarius, do you guys really want to be the same people? Do you really want to be in the matrix and all living into this pod where computers, technology, robots are taking your energy and using you as a battery now? Do you want to be like that? And then Saturn is also saying, with Neptune and Aries, saying, hey, there's structures in place that help us achieve our dreams, which is Neptune, and the bigger vision, which is Neptune. But when we let go and let it run amok, and we become too conservative with our big ideas, and we only include certain people in this delusional dream, now we're dealing with stuff that's like inhumane and toxic to the planet, with all of our desires and our needs for plastic this, this type of car, these batteries, this type of makeup, let's eat all this food, and who cares about that food, and who cares about the ocean, who cares about the air, who cares about the pollution, we won't be here in 1,000 years anyways, who cares, right? Woo! was a lot on the docket to think about. Whew! And so you can see why last Wednesday it could hit me all of a sudden and be like, huh, is this podcast useless? Does anyone want or care what's going on? Or is it? These are very trying times, and this triangle is going to be in play all year, and this is our trailer for the future movie that we're going to make together collectively. Here comes the trailer. Here's what's happening. You see it over here in this scene. You see it over here in this scene. Now we go to edit. What are we going to edit out? We're going to edit out this part where there's pollution. Let's take that out. Write about it. Let people know that it's a bad thing to do. Don't do it anymore. What are we going to do over here? We're going to say to our kids, this is what you should be learning, not this. Because this teaches violence and hate. This teaches you how to be more empathetic and take care of each other so we don't have war. And we're not get greedy because we have enough, because everyone knows how to grow their own food. We don't have to be greedy. So when you go out and travel around the world, you will see that most countries have, when I was living in Germany and in the villages before we get base housing, almost every person in the village had a garden, a personal garden in their next to their house. And I would have to say this comes from a time of World War II when all of Europe had scarcity of food. And they didn't know where to go. They didn't have food. They didn't have this, didn't have that. So almost everyone I saw in Germany that lived in the villages, not in the city, because I didn't really visit the cities. But the cities are always going to be the same. I saw Cologne, and I didn't see any gardens in Cologne in the city when I went to see King Tut's exhibit. But in all the villages I lived in, which was 2 or 3 of them, they all had their own gardens, and they all had their food in their village being sold there. They had a butcher shop, and all the vegetables that might have been grown, some of them would be there for sale. Everything they needed was right there. The villages are all by a running stream, not a river, a stream coming from the mountains. And I remember thinking, wow, this is what Thailand's like. There's food everywhere. You can grow your own food. There's fresh water. And then I come to America, and my mom started a garden right away so we could have our food, because there was really no Thai food back then. So she started planting some peppers. She had brought seeds with her, I think, from Thailand, because she brought me seeds last year. And she started growing stuff. And I remember the spicy Thai peppers, the lemongrass, all of it grew so well. I was 9 years old, and I remember it all. So when I moved back to Florida, I realized that's what I want to do. I want to grow my own food. And now there's a ton of Asian nurseries down here, ton of Asian fruits and vegetables being grown because they can handle the heat and the humidity. And it's part of permaculture life. You have to have lemongrass. You have to have these things that have been brought from Thailand, papaya trees, mangoes. Thai mangoes are like the most popular here to grow. So hopefully, things can only get better from here is how I look at it. All right, that's it for this week. Happy July 4th in America. And to everyone else, the biggest change is coming on the 7th with Uranus shifting with Uranus shifting into Gemini, because with Gemini and Aquarius, with 2 big, powerful outside planets there, it's going to be a huge revolutionary time. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you to all my spiritual children. I love all of you guys. Thank you to all my friends for being supportive of me. And I'm so happy everyone's healing quickly and everyone's out there still getting out there, which is very important to keep on, right? And I will be back next week, and I hope everyone takes care of themselves and be safe and happy over this long weekend. I appreciate you. Mwah. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.